We were on the verge of going to 10,000 in this morning's trading session. Now we are holding above the 10,120 and we're on the verge of moving into the green. So great recovery is what you're seeing. The bulls are putting in a fight on the first day of this new series.
And look out for Bajaj Finance. Let's get that chart up for you on your screen. That's what's leading the markets higher. It's now rallied more than about 10% this week itself. And Bajaj Finserv too is seeing some buying. And then, of course, you've got an ICICI Bank, Reliance Industries too, fighting for the push.
Absolutely. I think Reliance Industries and ICICI Bank, they are the two heavyweights on the Nifty. And when they move higher, that's what definitely helps the Nifty move higher. Take a look at that. Reliance Industries and ICICI Bank. Remember, ICICI Bank comes out with its set of numbers. So we'll keep an eye out on that one. But talking about earnings, we had a lot of earnings that came in overnight. Sonal's with us. She's going to run us through a lot of those stocks. Sonal, over to you.
Thanks a lot for that, Nigel. Well, I'll start with L&T Tech. Very strong set of numbers reported by the company yet again. Well, the constant currency growth that is sustained at those 29.5% levels, and that compares with around 32% that the company reported in the quarter gone by and 30% in quarter 4 of FY19. Additionally, the company has also revised the FY19 revenue guidance to a growth of around 21% versus a 16% earlier. So that's why the stock is up and buzzing in trade today. Intellect Design also reported good set of numbers, and the management, they spoke to us today and they guided for a 25% revenue growth and also margins of around 15% for next 1 year. So that is something the street definitely liked. Quest Corp, on the other hand, reported mixed set of numbers. The top line growth was quite strong. However, the margins, they came in lower. So we saw a revenue growth of around 50%, but margins, they compressed by around 30 basis points. So that is something the street is not liking. Crompton Consumer also reported its numbers. It was slightly below the CNBC-TV18 poll, but margins was something that disappointed. Well, margins came in at 11.9% versus an expectation of 12.3%. The lighting revenue that declined, margins there came in at 6.15% versus 12.4%. So basically, they halved here. And also the consumer durable segment, that grew by around 14.5%. And the margin growth was strong there. But the overall numbers were lower than what the poll was suggesting. And that's why the stock is declining in trade today. Back to you.
Okay, thank you very much for that. From Sona, let's now go across to Sonia. Sonia, we thought CEAT numbers were disappointing, but the stock is doing quite well.
Yes, it is. You know, it's the same reaction that we saw with Interglobe yesterday. The numbers are backward looking and they are disappointing, no two ways about that. But the street is looking ahead. Crude prices have fallen quite a bit since the last quarter, and that will aid the realizations for a company like CEAT, and that's what the market is pricing in. Also, the stock is sitting at a 52-week low. It's down 50% in 2018, so there is leg room for an upside. Having said that, the numbers in the quarter gone by have been weak on the margin front. So the margins are down 230 basis points year on year, coming in at 9.1%. But things will change in the quarter to come. Not just that, the revenue growth has been very strong. You know, it's a 15% revenue growth. The tonnage volumes have been improving because of the improvement seen in the commercial vehicle sector. So one, strong revenue growth, and two, the impending positive numbers because of the fall in crude is something that the street definitely likes. Back to you.
All right, Sonia, thanks so much for that. Let's get back to the markets then. The Nifty is holding at around the 10,100 mark. How do you trade the Nifty from here? Ashwini Gujral and Prakash Kaba, they're with us at noon. Thanks so much, gentlemen, for joining in. Ashwini, what would the trade be on the Nifty? We were just in the green and it's very, very volatile. Suddenly we're down again 25 points odd. Would you be looking to buy the Nifty at these levels, or do you think we can head back down to around that 10,000 odd mark?
At 10 o'clock, we had suggested buying into Reliance, Titan, etc. My sense is that the short covering move will gain steam and will possibly gain much further before the close, and probably close at the high point of the day, because at 99.50 the space to go down was really limited, and now that there is a turnaround in momentum, I think we could continue this on the upside, plus Asia, Europe, etc. recovering. So that way, I think we have enough shorts to take the market higher. So this is a good time to get long on Nifty, Bank Nifty, etc. Today, mid caps are outperforming, so kind of take the smaller stocks because they are likely to do well. Edelweiss is a buy with a stop of 136, target of 148. UPL is a buy with a stop of 605, target of 630. And CESC is a buy with a stop of 850, target of 900.
Okay, 3 buy calls by Ashwini. Prakash is also here with us in the studio. Prakash, long trade for you as well?
Well, looks like the 10,100 was yesterday and today 10,000 is held. So far looks like as long as the 10,000 holds, maybe there is some kind of view that maybe this not falling. Not falling itself is a good sign. It could be a sideways move or an upside move. So perhaps as long as that holds, I think upside is on. If it closes today in the green, the best part is it closed around 10,200, 160, higher than that, then it's good for the market for next week. I have two stocks, both on the long side. I'll go with Century Textile, that looks good. We can see an up move here. Target could be in the vicinity of around 800 zones. Stop below 770 should be okay. And I like Page Industries. I think Page Industries also looking good. It's building up. It's already gone up after I've recommended. Target that I had is 30,000, but I think I would modify it to maybe around 30,300 zones. Stop still would be same, 28,600. So Page Industries is a buyer's here.
Okay. Thank you very much for that. Biocon is a stock which is currently on our radar. The company had reported a fairly good quarter, so there was a revenue growth of 36.5%. Their margins too have come in higher than expectations at 25.7% versus 18.8% that it saw a year ago, and that is driving an increase in the company's profit. The stock, however, is not reacting too much to the numbers per se. In fact, let's now invite the management of Biocon to talk about their numbers. Kiran Mazumdar-Shaw, the CMD of the company, joins us now. Good afternoon. Growth this quarter was primarily led by the Biologics biosimilar segment. If you could tell us what the sales of Pegfilgrastim will be this quarter or were this quarter?
Our biologics business has jumped 167%, to 367 crores. This is a pretty robust jump. And what we are seeing is that these contributions have come, of course, largely from our supply and profit share of biosimilar Pegfilgrastim in the US market, as well as certain contributions from our sale of biosimilar trastuzumab and insulins in certain markets like Mexico, Malaysia, and Brazil. So I think there has been a good contribution from our biosimilars business, and largely I would say that the rich contributions in terms of margin and top line have of course come from the US launch of Pegfilgrastim, which happened in the first quarter. This is obviously setting us up for good sustainable growth in the coming years, because as you know, we are also preparing ourselves for a European entry with Pegfilgrastim and trastuzumab, biosimilar trastuzumab, where we await approval by the end of the year, given that we have had a positive response from CHMP for both these products. Biosimilar Glargine has already been approved in Europe and is shortly to be launched commercially in the European market. So I think overall we have a very nice basket of biosimilars for both the US and European markets, which will set us up for a steady growth in biosimilars going forward.
Well, Ms. Shaw, the company's small molecule business did well, but how did the US generic formulation business perform? And what was the pricing pressure in the past quarter, if any at all?
Well, I must say that, our small molecules business has also performed well. Many dynamics have played out here. As you know, there has been a shakeout in the market because of the China factor, and we find ourselves to be fairly strong when it comes to our statins and immunosuppressants API business. Having said that, we've also made a market foray into the ANDA generics space, and our rosuvastatin and simvastatin businesses have also garnered a pretty decent market share of between 15 to 20% in their respective segments. So I think we are as per plan. In fact, we perhaps are ahead of plan because we were a bit conservative when it came to our small molecules business. But we've also, I must admit, benefited from the depreciating rupee, which has also contributed to the top line.
Okay. Ma'am, you've also recorded an exceptional income of 171 crore, which is an account of valuing your stake in the US company, Equilium. If you could tell us about the plans Biocon has with this particular company and even on the tie-up with itolizumab.
Itolizumab is a very unique antibody that we had developed in India. In India, it is, approved for psoriasis treatment under the brand name Alzumab. However, we did realize that India was not the right place to develop this asset because there was poor recognition of such a valuable asset. And therefore, we decided to license it to a US biotech company, Equilium, who proposed to basically develop this asset for certain indications for which we actually entered into a licensing agreement, which actually also saw us getting a stake in Equilium. This stake is what has been evaluated as a fair market valuation. And this is what we have recognized as an exceptional income. And I must correct some of the media reports that basically seem to indicate that this exceptional income was a stake sale or a divestment, which it is not. It is actually a recognition of a fair value investment in Equilium. This particular asset is a very valuable asset. It, of course, entitles us to certain manufacturing and supply rights and, of course, royalties and milestone payments when it successfully gets into a commercialization mode. So we are very excited with this licensing partnership that we have with Equilium. The Equilium has recently basically had a successful IPO in the US market to raise $65 million with which they want to address the clinical development funding needs. And we look forward to successful outcomes in the clinical programs that they are entering into. So all in all, a very exciting time for itolizumab. And this is the way Biocon will benefit out of any successes that this molecule has in the US market.
Well, Ms. Shaw, there was some criticism that the stake value should have been declared before. Or what was the purpose of recognizing this value of the stake in the quarter? What are your comments on that?
This is, unfounded because I think this particular, fair value recognition had to be done only because of a change of our shareholding and our board representation. And this is a non-cash, basically, recognition. So it has to be reported, which is what has happened. Because of its preparing for its in preparation for its IPO, there was a change in the board representation, and therefore this had to be reflected because the value of the asset was only known as they were preparing for the IPO, because the asset value was very different prior to that, and therefore this is what we are recognizing at this stage.
Okay, thank you very much, Ms. Shaw, for joining in. So that's Biocon. By the way, keep your eye on Equitas and Ujjivan. While there may have been a recovery in the market, Equitas and Ujjivan continue to see a sell-off. Now Equitas is down in excess of 30%, while Ujjivan too has extended its slide to a cut of more than about 20-odd%. Remember, between the two, it's Equitas which needs to list its small finance bank before Ujjivan. So Equitas needs to list it by September, 4th of September 2019. While for Ujjivan, it's at least got 4 more months more compared to Equitas. So Ujjivan needs to list the bank by 31st of January. So right now, it's Equitas which is taking a bigger knock. We'll slip into a short break. When we return, we'll get you more on the market. Stay tuned.